All right. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you again on this fine Monday evening. And we look forward to interacting with everyone here in the chat. And if you'd like to join us on screen, that would be great. I pinned it in the YouTube chat, but I'll post that once again right now. Click that link. You can join us on screen right here with Jeff and I. And Jeff's back. So everybody say hi to Jeff in the comments. It's good to see him back this week. He had some family business to take care of. And if I sound a little out of breath, it's because I'm trying to wolf down my dinner before I went live, and I did not succeed. So you're going to see me eating some superfood on camera, and that is the theme for tonight is carnivore diet superfoods, which I think all carnivore options are superfoods, but some are more super than others, and that'll be our theme tonight that we'll get into here in a little bit later. And but outside of that, it's good to see everybody, and it's good to see Jeff again. How about you tell us how you're doing? You had a week. You had a week off. How are things down in Texas?
It's good. Weather's been a little chilly in the mornings. Don't care much for that, but my wife loves it. We're opposite ends of the thermometer. I like it warm. She likes it cold. But it just is what it is. I'll deal with it. But weather's been beautiful. We got some good rain that we needed. My tank's looking pretty. It's real happy. So I may even stock it with some fish here in a few days when the fish truck comes down to the feed store. That's something most of you city folks don't get to experience. We go down to the feed store and buy fish to stock our tanks with. But yeah, it's been good. Easter was fantastic. Lots of good food. And thankfully, just about everybody in my family is very meat centric or carnivore. So there were carbs available, for like the kids and for a few people that don't eat like us. Some of the relatives don't, but the majority does. My daughter was upset because she'd made a cheesecake for Easter, and a regular cheesecake, not a carnivore cheesecake. And her husband accidentally unplugged the refrigerator it was in out in the garage, and so it went bad. Mm-hmm. And so she was a little ticked off about that, and we told her it's no big deal. I mean, we're not going to eat it. And she said, "Well, that's what my husband said. Said nobody's going to eat it, so what's the big deal? Because none of us eat that way anymore, But that's not entirely true. There were other people that would have eaten it, but no big deal. We had lots of good food. In fact, really, I probably ate too much, to be honest. Testing the theory if you can eat too much meat and gain weight, which I didn't. I actually lost a pound. I stuffed myself silly, and I still lost a pound.
I can stuff myself and gain weight, so it is possible, especially if I eat a lot of meat and right before bedtime, and you're just not going to use any of that energy. I'll be a couple pounds up the next morning. Yeah. But I think some of that might also be my kidneys, so I think my fluid balance, is different than most people's too. So, I have some salt and drink a lot of water, and I think some of that's water weight as well.
Man, I tell you, boy, I was guzzling water yesterday. So was my wife. My daughter cooked up 2 hams, and there's something about ham, because they're salt cured, and all that salt in them. Man, it just drove up my thirst yesterday.
And if I eat lean meat, I could be a pound up the next day. So like if I have chicken breast, it's not very fatty. If I fill up on chicken breast, I'll wake up the next morning and I'll be a pound or 2 heavier. And I just always chalk that up. And I know this is kind of controversial, but I always chalk that up to gluconeogenesis. Since I didn't consume the fat, my body needed energy. It converted some of that protein into glucose, and that's why I was a couple pounds up. So I only have a bite of this to go, a couple bites to go. So bear with me here. This is a pound of ground beef. By the way, nothing special. 85-15 grass-fed ground beef. It's said sell by or freeze by today, so I had to cook this one up. I got another one I'll make tomorrow. I'm not worried if it goes a day or two past that stamp on the package.
That's just a suggestion.
Yeah, these are usually sealed. You know, they're in like 3-packs, and they're individually sealed, a pound a piece, and so they usually stay pretty fresh a couple days after that date for sure. So I cooked this up in the pan. I could use some shredded cheese on it, and then I salted it with my pink Himalayan salt, and I used a little of my seasoning. It's called bidet. Not bidet. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't want that for a seasoning.
Oh, badia. Okay, badia. I think that's what it is. So it's an onion and garlic powder kind of combination thing. Onion, garlic powder, salt. So I put that on there. So another couple bites here.
Yeah, well, Uncle Charlie ate quite a power bowl today. He had a pound of grass-fed beef, 2 pieces of sausage, 6 ounces of bacon, and 8 eggs.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
This morning I had 4 sausage patties. And that's routine during the work week. I just microwave them. And then at lunchtime, my son wanted to stop at McDonald's, so I got 3 quarter-pound patties. I wasn't hungry, but I knew I wasn't going to eat again until about now, so I went ahead and ate. That way I wouldn't get hungry. Yeah. All right. Well, it's good to see you, Jeff. And we got the same thing coming up here. We had a couple days where it was like 75, 80 degrees. And this morning I drove to work in a blizzard. So unbelievable. But it's the light at the end of the tunnel. So summer's right around the corner. We'll go say hi to some people in the chat here. Oh, taking the top spot. Number 1, you get first prize is Sandy Blythe. Good evening, Sandy Blythe. Good to have you here. And the silver medal goes to Lena Flanagan. Hello, how you doing? And then Jeff, you took number 3. All right. You'll wash that down with some Topo Chico. So, pardon my manners for eating on camera, everybody. So. All right, we got Jamette is in the house, says good evening, and we'll be in listening mode. That's great. Glad to have you here. Bacon Runner is here also, as well as Brian Dish says good evening. And we have Brisket Boomers. Glad to see you here. And Linda McDaniel from Michigan. So hello from the north. Good to see you. And we got Uncle Charlie. And we probably have a comment. Yeah, that's what we were talking about here. Uncle Charlie eats good, by the way. Yeah, that's what we just learned here a couple minutes ago. Uncle Charlie is eating good. Free Thinker is here. It says hi to everyone, not just us, but all of you in the chat too. We're so glad to have you in the chat. You really make our Monday nights, so we really appreciate it. Terry Girl's here and listening. Target Prime Rib says hello. Can't stay long, but that's okay. We appreciate you being here. And let's see here. And DS111 B8B, my friend Kathy, who's 70, made dinner for her family yesterday. I'm guessing her specialty, a carbohydrate casserole. Oh, yeah. Okay. So Easter dinner. Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of people yesterday, got together. I know I saw my neighbors doing that, have family over. My family doesn't do anything special and never has, even when I was a kid. So I don't even know what a traditional quote unquote Easter dinner would be. Jeff mentioned ham, so
that's generally what it is down here in the South. We generally have ham.
Yeah, I know. When I was young, my grandparents, who are no longer with us, when they lived in this area before they moved to Texas, that's where everybody gathered. But they gathered for it was a Christmas thing, and then my wife's side of the family, they used to have a gathering for Thanksgiving, and so my grandma's moved to Texas. They've since passed away, and no one's picked up the cause. And then my wife's side of the family, her father would organize it, and he was been no longer with us for about 7 years now, and so that tradition kind of dissipated too. So in both sides of our family, mine and my wife's, none of the relatives really do anything for any of the holidays, and everybody lives out of state too. And I think that's the other part of the reason is I've got relatives in Arizona and Wisconsin, and Michigan, and soon to be Florida and Texas, and and so nobody's centrally located. So, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. Frank Calabrese says lamb fat and beef together I find works best for me. Oh, that's an interesting combination. You get your lamb fat separately and then cook with it. That's interesting. I like lamb. I get ground lamb down at the local store, and I can cook it up just like I did this hamburger right here and eat it right off the plate. All right.
Lamb's good stuff. I keep all the fat off of my lambs and off of my beef. I don't mix them, but I'll make tallow out of all of them.
Sandy says, "Enjoy your food." I did. So today's been a faithful carnivore day. Let's see here. Saturday, I did have to compromise and cheat with keto. So Saturday was actually a very exciting day. So my son proposed to his girlfriend, and then
cool.
And then we all went out to dinner together. And since we all went out to dinner together with her and her father, obviously the proposal was a success. So
I was going to say, obviously, she said yes.
Yeah. So that was fun. That was very nice. All right. Lamb says meat takes 2 days to digest. It shouldn't have to make a difference eating it just before bedtime. Thoughts? Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's actually accurate. I don't see why it would take 2 days to digest.
I can see 2 days running through your intestines to be absorbed, to be broke down and whatnot, but not in the stomach. Because if so, I wouldn't have an empty belly in the morning when I woke up. I generally eat around 5 o'clock in the evenings.
Yeah.
And try not to eat again after that. But next day when I wake up, my belly's empty.
Yeah. Now I don't always eat before bed. It's just kind of happens once in a while. Oftentimes on a Monday night, because a lot of times I haven't eaten yet by the time I do the live stream, and then we get off at 11 o'clock. I go downstairs, I eat, and then I pass out in my chair. And I mean, is it bad to eat before bedtime? No, not necessarily. Especially if you wake up and then you don't. If you do one meal a day, I think then it really doesn't matter. Or you wake up and you go several hours before your first meal of the day. It's not going to really matter. If you're eating the same amount every day, when you eat it doesn't really make a difference. But I will just notice that, if I finish my meal, say at right now, between 5 and 8 o'clock, and I'm not going to pass out till midnight, I'll wake up and I'll be my ideal weight, maybe even down, which is good. But if I was to get off of here at 11 or 12 and eat and then fall asleep, I'll wake up a pound or two heavier. And I think this is because a couple of reasons. One, if you, let's say you weigh 175 and you eat a pound of food and then you step on the scale, guess what? You weigh 176. So because you just added a pound of mass, that you're weighing also. And then, but the body's got to break that down and, into the amino acids, and you use some of it for energy and whatnot. And so, I just think that's because I go to bed on it. I don't use the energy. So it's not that it gets stored, and it might not even be that it's stored as fat. It just might be because, I just ate, fell asleep, and I'm just waking up weighing myself 6 hours later, because I usually get up at 6:30 to 7:30. Holly Springer says, good evening. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, on that subject, I would think the main area that it might be an issue is if you have a hiatal hernia, or you have acid reflux, which generally clears up when you go carnivore. But I could still, I could see where it would be an issue. You eat too late, in
Yeah.
the evening for that. But
Yeah, my
other
wife,
than that, if it doesn't bother you, I don't see an issue with it. Although a lot of carnivore doctors do suggest eating earlier.
yeah, I've had acid reflux experience a couple times. It's pretty terrible. So you wake up basically choking on your own vomit, and you taste terrible in your mouth. I usually got to go chew a piece of minty gum or something to get rid of it and drink some water.
Back in my sad days, I practically lived on Tums.
Yeah, and I know people that suffer from it. Like my wife can't eat late. If she eats late, she'll keep waking up in the middle of the night with acid reflux. So, but I usually don't have that problem. All right. So Sandy says, Jeff, may I ask you a question? Something I've wondered but didn't want to be pushy. And so obviously we're here to answer your questions. So go, if you have that question. Oh, did she ask the question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So go on further down.
They'll be coming up on the screen here in a moment. So, all right. Yep. Ask away. He's not shy, he says. Okay, here it is. Is that a toothpick you chew on?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Yeah, it's a leftover from when I used dip snuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the ways that helped me kick the habit. Some people use candy or chewing gum, and I didn't want to use either one, so I used toothpicks.
Mm-hmm.
It aggravated my wife for quite a while, and she says, you just traded one habit for another. I said, I traded one habit that could kill me for another one that just aggravates you. Which one would you rather have? Of course, before I asked her that, I should have checked on see how the life insurance policy was. But no, yeah, it's a leftover from my chewing days.
Yeah, the first time I tried to quit smoking, same way I was trying to substitute with like Jolly Ranchers. I needed something for that, keep my mouth occupied. I don't have a substitute now. So when I quit, I quit. So, and I'm not a big gum chewer, or I know some people that they have to have a toothpick, usually because they get stuff caught in their teeth, but I don't have that problem much either. So, all right. Uncle Charlie asks, where is Paul hiding out? So I don't know. But 2 weeks ago, we had a disagreement at the end of our live stream, and I think that is why he's no longer showing up. So we had a little disagreement. I thought we came to a peaceful resolution, and but since then he's been MIA. So if Paul is listening, I would love to talk. And if we have unresolved issues between the two of us, I think we should hash them out and get back on each other's good graces. So would love to see you back on the screen. In fact, I remember one of the last things I mentioned at the end of that night was that we need to get a nice picture of you and start putting you on the thumbnails because you are such a regular. And I'd still love to go through with that. So we enjoyed having you here. And obviously so does the audience, because they're asking about you, Paul. All right. If you haven't taken the opportunity yet, please click the like button. That helps push this out to the algorithms, lets people know that this might be an interesting conversation, so it shows up on more people's home screens as they come to YouTube or turn on YouTube on their televisions or whatnot. We currently have 42 viewers, 1 on Facebook and 40 on YouTube currently. So yeah, please click that like button. That would be very, very much appreciated. And if you have an opportunity to share this link somewhere on social media that does not look spammy, that would be great as well. So we got a lot of information here that could certainly help a lot of people. All right, let's see here. Easter, Uncle Charlie says, I brought my own food and I also eat lamb. All right. Lamb would make sense. I'm just thinking like, 3 days prior, the Passover lamb, I could see where that would be a connection. Frank Calabrese says, butcher cuts up separately the lamb fat for $4 a kilo and keeps you satiated all day. Awesome. Sounds like you had a good relationship with your butcher. Very nice. Uncle Charlie says, I've been lifting weights and I'm looking lean. What a big difference night and day. Men, make sure you're doing weight training on this lifestyle.
Absolutely.
That's good advice. We know Jeff's been hitting the gym.
Yeah.
And me and my family, we are talking about getting a gym membership. We're just trying to look at which gym is best as far as local and spending money. And I don't know, like we've got a local place. The non-resident fee is expensive for a family of 3 or whatnot. And then we got, a nationwide place. It actually kind of looks like it's the best deal. I've just never been inside one, so I want to go inside one and tour one. But right now, price-wise, for all the places we've checked out locally, Planet Fitness seems to be like a good deal. So if anybody's got some Planet Fitness experience, I'd love to hear about it. All right. Maybe if you drink a lot while eating, that could add to your weight temporarily, especially with salty meals. And I honestly, that's probably the case. So I drink like a fish, and I have, late stage chronic kidney disease. So I think that's what happens is I drink a lot really late, and then I'm not excreting that liquid as fast as someone else might. And so I'm retaining some liquid, and I will get up at least once a night to go to the bathroom.
Lucky you.
Twin Brook Acres says greetings. What's that?
My prostate and see how many times you get up a night.
Oh, okay. I say at least once. So, I usually pass out in my recliner, wake up at 3 a.m., let the dog out, brush my teeth, go to bed, and then I might have to get up one more time. If I can't make it till my alarm goes off at like 7, I might have to get up at 5:30 or 6 and go again. Depends how much I was guzzling the night before.
Oh, I thought I'd trick it. I thought, well, I'm just drinking too much water in the evenings. I'll cut back. So for a week, I quit drinking after 6 o'clock. I don't care how thirsty I got. I'd take a little sip of water after I brush my teeth, and that would be it. And it didn't make a bit of difference. Didn't do a thing. I was still getting up 2-3 times a night.
All right. I just pasted the link in the chat again. It'd be great if you would like to click on that link and join us on the screen here with me and Jeff. We can talk face to face. That would be awesome. Holly says, our bodies heal while we sleep, and I've heard autophagy kicks in after 16 to 18 hours after the last meal. So I try. All right. So yeah, I try to I don't understand that, but obviously you try to eat so that autophagy is kicking in while you're asleep. So yeah, that makes sense. I've heard the same thing too. That's why, that's where fasting comes into play. Even intermittent fasting, the shorter you can make that feasting window and the longer you can make that fasting window, the more experience of that autophagy you're going to enjoy. And although autophagy takes place, even if you're eating 3 meals a day, there's some level of autophagy taking place, but you kick it up into high gear by fasting for sure. All right. Let's see here. Country guys out here have toothpicks in their mouths a lot, and I actually like it. What show did you have a disagreement on? I want to go back and watch it. So it's 2 weeks ago on carnivore and mental disorders, the last hour. So we actually, we were going to stop at 11 at the 3-hour mark, and then we actually had a stranger come on screen and asking for some help. And so we talked to him for about an hour, and it was during that hour. And so that's what you can go back and watch it. And Paul is going on my show this Saturday over on Target Prime Rib. So yeah, you know what? one, go support both Paul and Tom. I'm going to post his link. I'm sure most of you already know. Actually, I guess if you're on YouTube, you can click on his name and go to his channel that way. But if you're not, we'll share Target Prime Rib's link. Target Prime Rib. And go over there and you can get your subscribe to Thomas here. And you can go get your Paul fix this Saturday, right? Yes, Saturday. And I think that's at 4 p.m. Unless this is a little different this week. So correct me if I'm wrong. And there's nothing wrong with the disagreement. You can't agree on everything. That's right. Yeah, we can agree to disagree. So, All right. Okay. All right. Miss Lefalot loves lamb.
Don't blame her.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Terry Girl says her husband chews on a toothpick, also used to be a chewer. It's much more attractive than a mouthful of that crapola. Yeah, it is. So, what's funny is when I was young and not so bright, I started smoking for foolish reasons. I was in 11th grade and the girl that I had a crush on smoked, and I wanted to create more things in common. So I started smoking. And I smoked it for 7 years. And while I smoked, I actually enjoyed smoking. I did. And even when I quit, and I quit for religious reasons. So I decided I couldn't continue smoking with a clean conscience. So I quit smoking, but even for the longest time, like I loved the smell of smoke, and I would stand around people who smoked just so I could be like, but now it is repulsive. It is. It just. I can walk into a house. I can stand outside the front door of a house where people smoke inside, and as the smoke drifts outside into my nostrils, I'm like, oh, and I just can't stand it now.
You become very, very sensitive to it.
Yeah.
I can be riding my motorcycle out on a highway, open road, 80 miles an hour, and I can tell you, I can tell when somebody's in front of me is smoking inside their car. I can smell it. And I quit smoking in 1979.
Yeah. So, so it's interesting. So, I thought at one time it was cool. I thought it was attractive, but like I said, we were all young and dumb at one point. So, all right. And that's not to, if any of you are smokers now, I'm not putting you down by any means. So, each to their own. But your breath might stink. So, all right. Let's see here. Not a good idea drinking a lot with your meat, if only for diluting the stomach acid too much. Perhaps, especially if there are people who have like low stomach acid issues, and it could definitely be a problem for them.
Well, and that's not the first time I've heard that. I mean, I've heard it before.
I have heard it before too. Yeah. So, but I think I digest my meat just fine. So, and it's actually interesting. The stomach can, you can have solid food in there. Like you could have steak, churning around as the stomach's trying to break it down. And you can drink a glass of water, and the stomach, the valve at the base of the stomach can let the water through while still keeping the steak in the stomach because it's not done breaking it down yet. So it's actually pretty useful, pretty amazing organ. I think that I actually think everything in the human body, I think, is absolutely amazing. I think it's a miracle that we all can stand and walk and talk and everything. So we are a work of art, the ultimate machine. Or as Dr. Kills would say, the human Ferrari. Terry Girl, same thing. I've heard drinking while eating is not good. So, all right. Uncle Charlie, I eat one meal at 5 p.m. and don't eat until the next day at 5 p.m. All right. Very good. I could if I wanted to, I could probably train myself to do that. So I'm good. I'm happy with my 2 meals a day though. Terry girl, we all smoked to be cool until it wasn't. Yeah, that's true.
Or until we develop bronchitis.
Right.
That's why I quit.
I hate it now too. Like if you get in an elevator after a smoker was in there, so gross. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they didn't have to be smoking. You could just, because it's on their clothes and everything too.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought pipes smelled good. So did I. Not a lot of people I know. I'm never around a pipe smoker. So, and I remember I thought that was too. I bought a pipe for a while, but that was then. One of the happiest things I've done in my life. Anything that I've changed my life for the better. So I smoked from 93 to 2000 and we quit in 2000 and it was my wife and I did it together. So we, and what we did was we had like the rest of our couple packs left out of a carton. And we decided this is going to be the last day we smoke. And it was October 7th, 2000. And so we stayed up all night smoking the rest of our cigarettes because you paid money for them, so you couldn't let them go to waste. Yeah, so we stayed up all night smoking the rest of our cigarettes, and then when we were done, we took all the pictures down, we wiped all the walls down, like cleaned the carpets and everything, got rid of the ashtrays, put them outside, and that's it. We were like, we're done. And I don't remember if it was the next day or maybe the second day. But I'm in the kitchen, and my wife is my girlfriend at the time. We're not actually married yet, and I'm trying to open this frozen bag of hamburgers, and I bite my nails, so I can't really get a grip on the sticker that's closing the bag of frozen hamburgers. So I'm trying to peel this back so I can open it. I don't want to rip the bag open. I can't get it. So like I get this knife, like this chef's knife, and I'm trying to get it in between the two pieces of sticker so I can separate the sticker and get it off the bag and unwrap it. And I'm starting to get angrier and angrier and angrier and angrier because I'm getting so frustrated. And I didn't know this, but my wife was coming up right behind me about to ask me a question. But right at about that same time, I just snapped at this hamburger bag and I threw the frozen hamburger bag up in the air, swung this chef's knife around at it. And I'm like, I'm cussing. I don't talk like that anymore. It falls on the counter and I slam the knife down on it a couple times. And I hear these footsteps like running away. And I turn around and I see my wife running down the hallway, my girlfriend at the time. So I go down there. I open the bathroom door and she's sitting on the floor and she's like, what did I do? What did I say? And I'm still holding the knife. And I'm like, nothing. You're fine. I'm like, it's the hamburgers. I'm just mad at the hamburgers. She's like, would you please put the knife down? And then she's like, you and me, we're getting in the car right now and we're going to buy you a pack of cigarettes. And I'm still holding the knife. I'm like, no, we can do this. She's like, put the knife down. And so we didn't.
Now, if you'd have come in there and said, here's Johnny.
So I took the knife back to the kitchen. I'm like, she explained to me that she was just about to ask a question and she thought that I was like snapping at her. And I'm like, no. I was mad at the hamburger bag. But I was suffering withdrawals plus frustration, and I couldn't even control my own temper, but we never smoked again. We still made it through that.
Well, that was good. I didn't go through that when I quit smoking. When you get out of the Army, you got to have a physical when you get out. You have physical when you get in, you got to get one when you get out. And doctor was listening to my lungs and he says, so how much do you smoke? And I said, a pack a day. Why? He said, well, you got bronchitis. You need to quit. And I said, but I'm not sick. He says, I know you're not sick, but you got bronchitis. That's from smoking. You need to quit. So when I knew it was hurting me, as I walked out of his office, I took them marbles out of my pocket and I tossed them in his trash can as I walked out of his office and never picked them up again. But wasn't tough on me because I dipped snuff too at the same time. So I was, a double dipper there, so to speak. And so it was an easy transition for me. My dipping just picked up, is all it was for me. But I dipped snuff for 33 years. And I quit it when I turned 50. And that was a challenge.
Yeah. So I remember everything in sets of 3 too. So I usually talk to people and I share my experience. So I remember the first 3 days was the hardest. And then after 3 weeks, I was like, okay, I know I can do this. After 3 months, I was able to say, I know for sure I'll never touch another cigarette again. And then it was probably after 3 years is when smoke started to smell repulsive instead of smelling good. So it was, I don't know why I remember it like that, but 3, 3, 3, and 3, and then to get to where I am right now. And all right, let's see here. Where are we at? I don't like, Anthony Chafee says, I don't drink water 2 hours before and 2 hours after dinner so my body can absorb the food. I don't like, or does Anthony Chafee recommend not drinking 2 hours before and after eating?
So.
Okay. All right. And I don't know if this means you do like him or you're kind of like don't care for the advice either. So yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So like I said, I've heard it too. I don't in practice, in reality, I don't think anything's happening to me. I don't think I would benefit by not drinking 2 hours before or 2 hours after. I don't think it matters. So let's see here. When my grandfather smoked a pipe, ended up with throat cancer. My aunt died of lung cancer without even touching a cigarette. Yeah, that can happen. Yeah. Why do you smoke? Answer, I just started. Nicotine is a crazy thing. I still vape it, but it's seeming to be very much less intrusive. So yeah, if that's a tool with the end goal of getting off of it altogether, I think that's fine. So I've seen people do that and do that with success. Question for Jeff: what health changes have you noticed after ditching the snuff tobacco?
Well, that was quite a few years ago. So I was 50 and I'm 69 now, so that was a long time ago. But I can't say for sure that I really noticed any real benefits. Not like I did when I went carnivore or anything, other than my gums did a lot of healing. Because that stuff, snuff is hard on your gums and on your lips. But I can't really say other than that I can remember experiencing, any real changes, any health changes.
Yeah, when I smoked, I was young, so I don't really think it phased me much. I can remember coughing. If I got a cold, I feel like the phlegm production was probably increased. I had asthmatic bronchitis one time. That was scary. I lived a couple blocks from my parents. I woke up one morning, lit up a cigarette, and the first thing that happened was it's like my lungs closed off. And I could barely breathe. And I ran over to my parents, which wasn't probably that smart either. Got a doctor's appointment, had diagnosed with asthmatic bronchitis. And, but, I'm not, I don't want to smell like smoke. I don't want any kind of mouth cancer. I don't want any kind of lung cancer. So I cannot sit here and recommend smoking or excuse smoking, with any sort of clean conscience. I do recommend any of you that are doing that to work on quitting. I think being in the health, I think probably most of you are, because if you're in these carnivore communities, you're probably have a mindset focused on your health. You've changed your diet. You're trying to lose weight. You're trying to reverse disease, and a cigarette would be counterproductive to all that. So, but I also know it's crazy difficult to give up. So, and it takes some real motivation, but I think it's definitely worth the effort.
I know appetite goes up.
Mm-hmm.
My energy level went up just because you tend to get a little bit more anxious. You gotta do something.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as health, I don't remember that it really did anything to improve my health, other than maybe kept me from getting lip or throat cancer or jaw cancer. My farrier, he did most of his life, and he ended up with cancer right under his jaw, under his tongue there, and he survived it, but he learned his lesson. He got off that stuff, but he had a rough time of it in the meantime.
All right, here's a diet-related question. We'll get to our theme here shortly. It's 8:41, but SEG 2010 HS says, I had the statin talk with my cardiologist this week. My total cholesterol went up to 345 and LDL to 242. She also tested my lipoprotein A, which was 94. Been mostly carnivore, 2.5 months. So my question for you is, have you been actively losing weight during this 2.5 months? So, and if so, well, I mean, I regardless, I don't think I would panic.
No.
Your cardiologist might be panicking. Usually they're a little more reasonable. Your PCP would definitely be panicking. If you are actively losing weight, so not only do you have the just natural potential, and it's not everybody, but it does happen to a lot of people, increase in LDL, maybe in relation to your increased saturated fat intake. But when you're losing weight, if you were overweight or obese, there's LDL stored in your adipose tissue. And so as you're eating carnivore and your body needs energy, and it has to tap into your own fat resources. So it dissolves some of your fat into your bloodstream. And so your LDL may go up as you lose weight because you got the LDL stored in the adipose tissue. And your lipid numbers could be all over the place during the weight loss process. So I would not trust or give too much credence to a lipid panel while you're actively losing weight. Now, once you are weight stable for about 3 to 6 months, then you can do a lipid panel, and that might be more reflective of your true baseline, or so you could even say your new baseline. And but while you're losing weight, it could be all over the place. So I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't panic with an LDL of 242. That's kind of where mine's at.
And you're also looking at, you've only been doing this for 2.5 months. It's not very long.
Right.
So you're probably not fully adapted yet. So wait and see where it settles in at. I mean, my LDL is 230 something. I'd have to look it up. I've got my paperwork here on my desk, but I'm in the same range. And here's the deal, something to remember. When you ate a SAD diet, you ate a lot of carbohydrates. What did you have flowing around in your blood a lot? Glucose. Why? Because of the carbohydrates. So, and why did you have all that glucose in there? It was fueling you. That's what your body was being fueled off of. Well, now that you don't eat carbohydrates, you don't have the glucose in there. Now your body has to run off of fat, right? So now what do you have running through your system? through your bloodstream? Fat. Why? Because that's what you're being fueled. That's your fuel now. That's what you're operating off of. So it only stands to reason you're going to have more noticeable fat in your bloodstream. It's just common logic. So, just because it's high doesn't mean it's doing any damage to you. You're using it up. You're burning it.
Yes, very good. We got Papa Carnivore in the house. Good to see you here, Peter. And Bill Cook says, heard vaping has oil, not good for the lungs. So yeah, yeah, we definitely don't want to convey the idea that like cigarettes are bad and vapes are good. That's not the case at all. Cigarettes are bad. Vapes are less bad. But they're still not good. Yeah. So smoking anything is not good. We were not designed to inhale smoke of any kind. So that's not part of our physiology. So
no, the only smoking I do these days is my meat.
Mm-hmm. All right. Continuing with this earlier story, thankfully, the day before I went into my PCP to get his take on it because I knew she was going to push a statin. I go to a cardiologist because I have POTS, basically tachycardia when I'm standing. There's more coming here. And my PCP said, please don't let her put you on a statin. Oh, what a twist.
Yes.
Plot twist.
Yeah.
I asked if I should cut back on the red meat or butter, and he said no. I was glad he's still on board, but still get a bit nervous. Yeah, okay, so you've got a golden PCP.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
See, my PCP was the one trying to push statins on me, and it was my cardiologist that said I was doing great. My cardiologist loved how I was eating because he saw the results of what it did to my heart. And he was just all on board with it, with carnivore for me. So yeah, that's quite a flip there.
Yeah. And my PCP, had a meltdown about my LDL, referred me to an endocrinologist, and the endocrinologist kind of like, yeah, I was like, I'm not worried. And she's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, neither am I. Let's run some tests, and kind of no big deal. Respected my choice. Wasn't an issue. So yeah, so the fact that your PCP is on board, that's pretty cool. I like hearing that. Papa Carnivore had a delicious flank steak for dinner tonight with lots of cold butter chunks and molten sea salt flakes on top. Delicious. I just had a pound of hamburger with a little seasoning and some cheese. I ate it on camera.
I had bacon wrapped smoked meatloaf.
All right. Very good. All right. Yeah, mine was pretty basic, but I just had this, like I said, I had to cook this beef and eat it. So, because it was use by today or freeze it. All right. I saw Malden's flakes at Costco. I want to try it. It is absolutely worth it. Malden's sea salt flakes are
good
great.
Stuff. It's my favorite salt.
Yeah. It's worth it. You will not regret it. So you cook your steak and you just cut it up into your bite-sized pieces and then sprinkle it on top. It's delicious. Terry Girl says, I saw some reviews on the new potato chips at Costco, cooked in tallow.
So,
yeah. So, I mean, it's better than seed oils, but if you're trying to be ketogenic or carnivore, you want to probably avoid potato chips regardless of how they're prepared. So if you're more, keto, low carb, or animal based, you could maybe cheat with them once in a while, but I wouldn't recommend it because you know why? They're addictive.
Yeah, they are.
They're addictive, regardless of what they're cooked in. They are addictive.
That's definitely one thing I can't touch.
Yeah. You ever heard the phrase, the slogan, once you pop, you can't stop? Do you know who's that?
Can't eat just one.
Yeah, I bet you can't just eat one. Yeah. Let me know if you know whose slogans those are. But yeah, all that
Lay's and Pringles.
True. Yep, Lay's and Pringles. Yeah.
Yeah, I know my junk food. I ate enough of it in my day.
Yeah. I use Malden sea salt flakes on my steaks and meat. It is without question the best salt for steaks. I use Redmond on my eggs and pink Himalayan salt on my roasts in a crock pot. So yeah, I got Maldens and pink Himalayans. So I've never bothered to order the Redmonds. So, but I like the pink Himalayan. and I like the Maldens, and I can get both of those at different warehouse clubs. And that's probably why I just grab it when I'm shopping. I don't think to, order. Well, let me go to Redmond's and order some Redmond's. So it just never occurs to me. I'm
Yeah,
not.
we can get it at we got a store here called HEB, pretty popular here in Texas, and I can get both Redmonds and Maldens at HEB.
Yeah. So I'm not too particular on salts anyway. Just getting some salt, regardless of the salt, is good. But your pink Himalayan, your sea salts, your Redmond salts, all those are going to be better because they've got the more diverse mineral content because they're not purified, quote unquote purified. So kind of use that word loosely. Sandy says, my brother died of lung cancer at 59, so young. Also an alcoholic, such a sweet guy. I had a friend of mine who set tile for me. He died at 60 from COPD. He smoked himself to death. So,
yeah, I lost my dad at 59. It was he decided to get his act together. He was an alcoholic. He decided to get his act together. He quit drinking. He quit smoking. Started exercising. Hit a gym and started losing weight and kept losing weight and kept losing weight. And finally lost enough weight. He decided he better go get looked at. It turned out he had full blown liver cancer, and it was aggressive. He was gone in 2 months. Man fought in 3 wars: World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Never got a scratch, and died at 59 of cancer, liver cancer.
wow. Wow. So my so you've outlived your own father by quite a bit.
But you know what? I'm going to tell you something about that. So he died at 59, and it was like the month of his 60th birthday. So technically he was 60. When I turned 60, boy, did it give me a whole different perspective.
Mm-hmm. I can remember my dad's dad, whom I never met. I was born in 75, and he died in 1970 at the age of 53 of a heart attack. And but I remember when my dad reached the age of 53, I can remember him clear as day saying, I've outlived my dad, and that was quite some time ago too. It's a couple decades ago now. And recently I had an uncle pass away, and I got my hands on some photo albums from his house. And it's kind of neat. They were actually my grandmother's photo albums. So I've got photos dating back to the 1930s when they met and married, before they started having any kids. In probably around 1943, I think, is when the one uncle was born, and it's really neat. So I got to see pictures of what my grandfather, whom I never met, looked like, and it's kind of neat to see my uncles, it's my dad and his older brother and his younger brother, as toddlers, babies and toddlers. And it's really weird, as you can tell it's them. And so it's kind of neat to see them as in the photographs as just babies and toddlers. And today they are, in their late 70s, about to cross 80. So it's interesting to see them through that whole time span. I have the albums in my possession now. They're my albums now. So it's been pretty fascinating. And he was over the other day, and we looked through them together, and I got to hear all kinds of nice stories. So when you mentioned that just brought that to my mind. We've just recently been kind of reliving some old memories there as well. But yeah, he died young too, 53 of a heart attack. Too young. Lamb says, I do believe smoking causes lung problems, but tobacco as such, not so much. It's the junk they put into the cigarettes that make it unhealthy. So yeah, there's a large portion of it for sure. So
yeah, I've heard it's not the nicotine that gets you; it's the tars and all the other junk that's in it.
Yeah. So and I again, burning it, inhaling the smoke. I mean, I think burning anything, inhaling the smoke is not that great for you. I think you'd have problems burning other substances too, inhaling it. So, what do we got here? Papa Carnivore has become a salt connoisseur. All right. You know what? You know what? I have. You mentioned that you've probably tried all the flavored salts then too. I had someone I met on Dr. Barry's community lives down the street from me, and she invited us over and cooked some meats on her grill. She's really nice. You know, she's kind of homebound. She has an oxygen tank. She's been doing the carnivore diet, and so we went down there and visited her, and she had this Redmond's smoked salt that was like a cherry. I think it was a cherry flavor, and she even gave me some. And that stuff is the smoked salt is absolutely amazing. I still have some of that, but I've never gone out and actually bought different smoked salts, but I want to. So, and so if you say that you're a connoisseur, maybe you could recommend some quote unquote flavored salts that would be mighty tasty as well. Or do you just like the regular salt? Well, maybe not. All right. Latest news, Redmond's has lead. Not sure how much.
Now, there's been a lot on the internet about that lately. People listing the different salts and what all they have in them, and Redmond's is not looking good. I'm still using it, but I don't know for how much longer.
SEG, going back to the PCP that discouraged the statin, he did say if I felt like I wanted to try to lower, then I could add low FODMAP vegetables like leafy greens. Is anyone else still a little leery on cholesterol? So I'm not leery on cholesterol.
I'm not either.
As long as I make a point, like sometimes in my reels or on my YouTube shorts, you know, a standard American cardiologist will come on and I'll listen to it. And if I do that too much, then it'll start getting into my head. So don't do that.
Well, what I would be curious. So you mentioned your LDL. That's just one of the markers, and we already know that high LDL, and we've seen the studies on it, is not a factor in cardiovascular disease. So you've got to look at your other markers. So what is your triglycerides to HDL ratio? And to find that, you want to take your triglycerides and divide your HDL numbers into it and see what you get. Anything under 2 is looking pretty good. Anything 1.5 is fantastic. Mine is such that I'm less than 1. And so my risk ratio is very low for cardiovascular disease. So if your risk ratio is 2 or less, then you don't need to be leery about your cholesterol.
Yeah, I agree that triglyceride to HDL ratio is a better indicator. And like I said, LDL of 242 ain't that bad. Here's something I always keep in mind was, you know, it wasn't too many decades ago. You know, if your cholesterol was under 300, nobody cared. You know, and then over time, you know, they've lowered it and then lowered it again, and then a few years later they lower it again. You know, it's gone from 300, your LDL, it's gone from 300 to 250 to 200 to 150 to 100. Now they're talking below 70 is ideal for a normal person, and below 40 if you had a prior issue with other indicators of heart attack risk or whatever. That's insanely low. You come out of the womb with more cholesterol than that. So, and why do they keep lowering it? Well, this sounds like a conspiracy, but I think there's probably a ring of truth to it. Because all of a sudden, you have millions of more people that now they quote unquote should be on statins, and now the pharmaceutical companies can make more money. And
I believe it.
Now statins are cheap, so it's not like they're making bank. Okay, but they keep coming out with new ones. So like the old ones that are now, now they're generics, and they're $5 for a month's prescription or something. now they don't recommend those. These new ones come out, and those are still under patents, and that's the ones that they want to recommend. Or they got these new, instead of statins, they got these injectables and things like that, inhibitors or whatnot, and those cost a lot of money. So is there a financial aspect to it? I think so in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, no. So like, I think my PCP, he's just been trained in the modern medical thinking, and he would prescribe a generic right away. So no one's making money on that. So, but I'm not leery about it. I wouldn't be. At the same time, I won't say there's no harm in eating leafy greens. It depends on your personal physiology and your personal sensitivity. There could be no harm in eating some leafy greens. And yes, if you incorporated more vegetables in your diet, would your LDL go down? Probably. So that's entirely up to you. If you want to switch to a ketovore or a keto diet, that's up to you. You would, based on your own reasons. I would not make that decision solely over concerns about LDL, though. So
No.
I would make that, and I do. From time to time, I eat off plan. I'm carnivore most of the time. From time to time, I'll eat a plant, and but my motivation for doing so has had nothing to do with my LDL. So let's see here. The amount of lead in Redmonds is negligible, a few parts per billion. There's lead in just about everything. The fear is way overblown. I could see that being the case. I'm completely naive to the Redmond salt has lead controversy, if there is one. So I don't know. I really don't know. So let's see here. 2.5 months isn't very long to change blood things quite yet. I agree.
Right.
Yeah, too soon. These cholesterol markers can't be taken seriously. If you ask me, I never tested and never will. I don't think they don't tell you much by themselves. That's the thing. No. Your that HDL to triglyceride ratio probably tells more than that LDL count. But if you're, like I said, if you're in the process of losing weight, especially just in 2.5 months especially if you're losing weight rapidly, I wouldn't trust the lipid profile at all. It's going to be all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So. I lost 11 pounds in the first month. Nothing the last few weeks. That's pretty common too. So let's see here. There are microplastics in most sea salts, so people are freaking out about that too. I just don't worry about that either on the sea salt, Malden sea salt. Yeah, I'm just with microplastics. All I'm doing is I'm not cutting on a plastic cutting board anymore. That's about the only change I've made. Oh, and I bought glass storage containers. So instead of putting it in plastic storage containers, I use glass storage containers. I don't know about. There's really nothing else I can do. So again, I don't really worry about that either.
Yeah, minimize is all you can do. You can't get rid of it.
She did agree to retest me in a few months. I guess part of my concern is I'm 44. My grandma died at 44 of a heart attack, but she smoked and drank some. I don't do either. So here's the other thing too, is like, if you have any kind of plaque or calcium buildup, it's an accumulation of the previous 44 years. You can't do anything for 2.5 months and all of a sudden have like plaque and calcium. It just doesn't work that way, So the last 2.5 months, if your LDL is shot up, it's doing nothing. That's done nothing to you. Listen, so I wouldn't be freaking out about it yet. So there are tests you can do, by the way. So there's 2 tests. I wonder what that noise is. Hey Jeff, what is that? Sound like a rattlesnake.
That's what's going on. Yeah.
I'll mute him. Okay, yeah, that could be a private conversation. All right. So there's two tests you can do. So the first one isn't going to say anything. Isn't going to tell you any information just yet. You go get a CAC score. That'll tell you how much calcified plaque you have in you. Calcified plaque isn't actually that bad. It's stable. So, but if you have calcified plaque, you probably have soft plaque. So because soft plaque becomes calcified plaque, but the results of that test alone don't tell you anything, because you got to wait another year, run that test again, see if there's been any change. And even then, we really don't know what's causing it. There's an ultrasound called a CIMT where they can do an ultrasound to your carotid arteries, and that can pick up the soft plaque. And so that's the test that you want to get. That's pretty cheap, and that would tell you where you're at. But again, what can you do about it? Clean eating. I think your standard American junk food was probably doing more than your clean carnivore eating is doing. Again, I won't worry about it. Look up Dave Feldman, Nick Norwitz. They actually are running studies and publishing papers on LDL and whatnot, and it's very, very informative. That'll help calm you down. So I have a cold, excuse me. All right. Let's see here. Give your body time to adjust, and maybe have a look if you maybe need to get rid of the dairy. So that could be. All right. Let's see here. Let me skip a few comments here. Yeah, any type of potato chip, even cooked in tallow, is way too addictive for me. Can't do it. Yeah, I just start munch. I can't do it. So Peter, did you see Rick bought some New York strips at Winn-Dixie, a pork shoulder and some chicken too? All right, we had Rick on last week. So he's a good asset to the carnivore community. So we love Rick. Down to earth, tells it like it is. I bought the tallow chips at Costco for my grandsons. I want to know there are healthier options. So I mean, the chips fried in tallow are better than the chips fried in seed oil. So remember back in the day, everybody cooked in tallow, even like McDonald's. So yes. They add stuff to prohibit the foaming. Hard to find unadulterated tallow. Yes, I've heard that too. All right. Let's see here. The electrolytes are overrated. Everybody with big carnivore commercial is selling those LMNT to make money on them. It's a scam. I actually pretty much agree with you there. So I don't take electrolytes. So I salt to taste, and that's about it. As long as I have salt with my dinner, I don't have any cramps in the middle of the night or anything like that. So when I first started, I got swept up into that, like, oh, you got to have these electrolytes. I bought some Element and I was drinking it. And then I ran an electrolyte panel on my blood work, and I had some, like, potassium was way high and magnesium was way high. And I wasn't excreting them very well. Now my kidneys come into play there, but there's, the only electrolyte that I think, if you're salting your food to taste, I think you're fine. The only electrolyte you probably really need, maybe, it could be magnesium. So, and even then, just a little bit. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. Electrolytes has become like this big business, and I don't think they are needed as much, especially after you've become fat adapted. So when you start off, the carnivore diet for the first time and you lose a lot of water weight, that's going to take a lot of electrolytes with it. And so you might need to replenish those. And, but, you know, one LMNT packet a day, probably one LMNT packet every 2 or 3 days. That's probably all you really need. So, and then once you become fat adapted, I wouldn't even worry about it anymore. Because 20 years ago, there was no such thing as what she likes. All of a sudden, people are jumping on his bandwagon. Thought that had to do with the electrolyte comment. So, oh, that's the way I see it too. Hopefully, all the other snacks will drop the seed oils. That would be nice. You know what I've seen interesting is because I got family members that eat standard American food, and but my son, who was a hot Cheetos fan, they make what's called naked hot Cheetos, and there's no red food dye in it. So it's still a hot Cheeto flavor wise, but instead of coming out looking red or bright orange, it just looks like a neutral colored puff of some kind. And they now have naked Doritos too, where they've removed the food, the red coloring or whatever kind of food dye was in it. So that's pretty interesting too. And I think that's also a step in the right direction. I mean, it's stuff that I'm not going to eat, obviously. But for those who do, getting rid of the artificial dyes and getting rid of the seed oils and cooking in tallow, I think all those are steps in the right direction. All right. Oh, and let me star this comment for Jeff when he gets back. Let's see here. That was a comment, the question for Jeff. We'll come back to that here. None of us really know what causes cancer. Otherwise, the little kids wouldn't have it unless it's from a parent lifestyle. It still remains a mystery. Yeah, certain cancers pop up, and as to why, it's basically a mutation. A cell, mutates and divides incorrectly, and then continues to divide with that, wrong copy and spreads. I don't know. My dad was a World War II combat veteran, U.S. Army infantry rifleman. He fought in General MacArthur's army and liberated the Philippines and Guam. All right. My dad lived to 89 and a half. He got prostate cancer, which took him out. Well, it's sad news there. And but 89 and a half is an achievement. That's actually good. So that's a nice ripe old age there. So a neighbor behind me had prostate cancer when I moved in here in 2010. He already had it, and he stuck around till probably 2023. So that one, that's a prostate cancer I think you can have for a long time. It's very slow progressing, but eventually gets you. Holly says, my dad was in MacArthur's unit. He took to functions. My dad was there when he signed the peace treaty with Japan and the Philippines. All right, what's neat. Yeah, Paul, I was thinking the same thing. Brisket Boomers. Paul Saladino had a video on salt. Yeah, that's I know he reviewed, I think, 4 or 5 different salts and gave his critique, and I think that came out maybe a couple months ago. So it's been a while since I watched it, unless he came out with a new one recently. So I'm still a Saladino fan. I still think that there's good information to be had there. So yeah, Anthony Chafee does not use salt or electrolytes. Yeah, so I seem to need salt. If I eat like I was talking about the chicken. If I eat chicken at dinner time and I don't use a lot of salt, I might wake up with a cramp in the middle of the night. Seems like anytime that I don't have salt with my dinner, that's when I'm more likely to have a cramp. So as long as I have salt with my dinner, no cramps. So, all right. cancer can pop up everywhere if you eat the SAD junk. Yeah, that's true. So I do hope that, like, let me unmute Jeff. I muted you. There was something that sounded like a rattlesnake, and then I heard you talking to someone in the background. It was a rattlesnake.
That's my ringtone on my phone.
Oh, okay.
I'm an old snake hunter and snake handler.
All right.
I used to be with Park County Sportsman's Club. I was on the board of directors, and every year we'd put on a rattlesnake roundup. And I'm one of the guys that would go in the pits and play with the snakes.
Yeah, I was like, I saw you get up, and then all of a sudden I heard this rattlesnake, and I'm like, and then you were talking to someone, so I muted you in case the conversation was private.
Yeah, I got up. I was in fact, I forgot I went to go get me some water, and as soon as I stepped away, it didn't take long, and I heard my phone going off, and I thought, "Oh man, that's right next to the speaker on the laptop."
Yeah, I'm thinking like, you got up because there was a rattlesnake. Man, you got problems over there.
No, if there was, it'd only been to catch him. But no, it's a little chilly out for them right now. I wouldn't be surprised if I got some around. I'll be looking forward to the weather warming up, and I'll be hunting my place for copperheads. See what I got running around for copperheads around here, because this would be copperhead country. Mm-hmm. But I've got a few rocky outcroppings that I may have some rattlesnakes hanging around too.
Brian Dish, explain how my aunt is 89 and has smoked since she was young. I think before teenager, she was a teenager. Back then, almost everyone smoked. So smoking can kill. Smoking can cause cancer. That's proven. It doesn't mean it does it to everybody. So, they what they call the distribution curve. How it affects certain individuals. Yeah, there. Just like there's some people that can live off of standard American diet food and eat chocolate cake and cookies and Oreos all their lives and fast food and they never get fat. They're pencil thin and they live to be 100, and then there's others of us that if we try to do that, we'll be dead by 45. So, there's people that same way. There's people that smoke and drink all their lives, end up being 105 years old. Other people smoke and drink, and it's what does them, and it does them in at 39. So
it all boils down to your DNA, your metabolism. Yeah.
So some people are just more, resistant than others. You might also think about, like these plant toxins that we talk about, so the oxalates and the lectins and everything. Like some of us are super sensitive, can't have any of them, and we're carnivore for life. Other people, they get by on keto, animal based. People live for decades into their 80s and 90s as a vegan plus supplements, and they enjoy a good long life, and there's others people that try and live like that and they get sick, they're malnourished, and everybody's different in that sort of way. Terry Girl has some Celtic smoked salt that's black and good on pork. All right, Celtic smoked salt sounds good.
Celtic.
Yeah, Matt on the salt scare propaganda. I wouldn't worry about it. And like I said, I'm the same with any salt. Like I go to a restaurant and there's just a salt shaker there, and it's in the back they probably filled it with that whatever the brand is with the girl in the raincoat, the umbrella. Everybody's like, oh, don't use that stuff. It's garbage. It's iodized salt. A couple sprinkles of that on your food isn't going to make a difference to anybody. But for some reason, that salt's bad and all these other salts are good. No, it's salt. Yes, that salt is not as good as, all these sea salt options. Are much, much better, but, people will say that, there's sugar in that salt, but you sprinkle a couple dashes of that on there, and how much sugar are you really getting?
That's what I'd be curious
about.
One
carb,
yeah. How much? I mean, we know it has dextrose in it. So how much does it actually have? Because it doesn't list it. I mean, it lists that it's on there, but it doesn't tell you how much is actually there.
Yeah, I think it's there as an anti-caking agent.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so
I believe so.
Yeah, I don't know, but probably insignificant. So if you're on a 0-carb carnivore diet, a couple shakes of that salt, your body's not going to notice it at all.
If you use a lot of it all the time, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
It's like seed oils when you eat out, a little bit here, a little bit there. Unless you're super sensitive, it's not going to bother you.
Yeah. Or like, so a lot of people will say, well, you don't eat chicken or pork because of the high omega-6 content, because they're feeding chicken and pork grains, and therefore the chicken or pork meat's going to have a higher omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, which is true. But in the grand scheme of your diet, which you've already eliminated seed oils, most likely, and you have chicken maybe once a week or once a month, is that omega-6 to 3 ratio of that chicken going to affect you one bit? Absolutely not. So enjoy your chicken, enjoy your pork. So,
well, I'll tell you what, you don't take pork away from a country boy. I'm sorry. We love our pork. Man, there ain't nothing better than big old rack of smoked pork ribs or a ham. They had a good sale on hams at Wally World the other day, and I bought one, and the wife says, your daughter's probably going to make ham for Easter. I said, I don't care. I like ham. I'm going to eat. I'll eat ham nearly every day. I love ham. So I smoked up a ham, and then she had her ham. Didn't bother me a bit.
All right. Very good. So, hey, it is 9:20. I'm going to post the link in the chat again. Click that link. Join us on screen. We would love to have you here. Now, let's actually get into our topic.
Almost an hour and a half in.
I know. Before we actually get to the end of the program, and we haven't touched it. So we're talking about carnivore being a superfood, or carnivore containing superfoods. And what superfood do you think? What staple? I want to divide this into two categories. I would say, what carnivore staple is probably the best superfood, and then what other food which you should take as a supplement is a superfood. Do you have any guesses? If you know, drop it in the chat. And I'm going to give you a hint. If you were with us when we started, I was eating a plate full of it right on camera.
That was going to be my guess.
Yeah. Bill Cook says bacon. Lamb says pork belly is king. And those are true. Those are superfoods too. But we're actually talking about beef. Beef often stands out as one of the most nutrient dense foods available because it has a complete protein profile. It's got a complete protein. It's got all the amino acids necessary. It's got high levels of bioavailable vitamins and minerals and several other unique compounds that support human physiology. And of course, we can include some dairy in there, eggs in there, and pork and bacon. And Bill Cooks says beer is a superfood, but we're talking about carnivore specifically. Lamb.
Yeah, he always goes back to beer, but
Cranky Carnivore Cutler says lamb is the superfood, liver is the supplement. Yeah, so you mentioned liver, and Sandy Blythe in all caps says liver. And I'm not bringing those on screen because I'm going to lose my spot where I'm at in the chat. And so all those answers are correct. So ruminant red meat, we should say, is a superfood. Beef stands out as the most abundant of those, most popular, I would say. And there's reasons for that. So we got number one would be heme iron. That's highly bioavailable, highly absorbable. Unlike the iron you might find in plants, this iron is already in a form that your body can use. And by getting enough heme iron, you can avoid fatigue and anemia. You can get iron from plants, but it's much less efficient. So getting it from beef is the superfood and not the plants. Zinc is another one that is high in the beef. Beef is one of the richest sources of zinc. And actually, when I started a carnivore diet, I stopped taking my zinc supplement. Zinc supports immune function, testosterone, and helps heal your wounds faster. And so, have you noticed on a carnivore diet that you heal faster? Part of that could be because you're getting all this nutrient dense food and high levels of zinc and other minerals and vitamins from beef, which is a nutrient dense food. Vitamin B12 is also essential for nerve health, for your red blood cells, and for energy metabolism. And this is one that you cannot get from plants at all. So this is where veganism will fail you. Is B12 is actually an essential nutrient. The human body has to have it. You cannot get it from plants. So right off the bat, were we designed to be vegan? No, absolutely not. Now today, people can take a supplement and kind of work around that hurdle. But why do that when you can just enjoy beef and all the other benefits that come with it, in addition to that B12? And then you also have B3, which is also called niacin, B6, riboflavin. All those are good. Phosphorus, selenium, and choline. So there's all kinds of things in there. And I can go on and on and on. But that's, whether we got L-carnitine, some of these other taurine, some of these other things here that are just absolutely superb for the human body. And you get these from meat sources. You can find some things in eggs, and there's obviously an abundance of vitamins in chicken and fish as well. But ruminant animals like beef and lamb, those are going to be key. Now, someone mentioned liver, and that's actually really good because whatever you might be lacking in like ruminant muscle meat, which isn't a lot, you will make up for it 100 times, even with just the smallest bite of liver. So liver, is nicknamed nature's multivitamin. And some people even take it like a multivitamin. They'll cut it up raw into little pieces and freeze it. And then every morning, when they go through their morning routine, they will take a frozen little chunk out, swallow it like a pill.
I've even heard of people going to the trouble of buying the gelatin capsules
Mm-hmm.
and filling them with liver so that they can take them that way and not taste the liver. And you can go like Heart and Soil, and you can buy the liver supplement pills, the desiccated liver. If you don't care to eat it. We go ahead and eat it because we keep it from all the animals that we raise. So goats, sheep, cattle, we keep all their livers and all their hearts. So we get our liver, and then the wife loves chicken livers.
Yeah, and those are going to be high in, you get good omega-3s there, vitamin D3, vitamin K2. If you have some livers, there's actually some vitamin C in muscle meat. I think there's a little more in beef liver. I could be wrong on that one there. But you can get every nutrient you need. You actually don't even need the organ meat supplements. So no. you can actually survive and thrive just fine on the ruminant muscle meat alone. It contains everything you need for the human body to survive. And
after nearly 3 years, I'm doing fine, and I don't eat liver all the time. I'm not a big liver either. My wife is more than I am. When I'll fix a pate or a liverwurst, I'll eat some of it, but I don't eat a whole bunch. I've done just fine in nearly 3 years of doing this woe.
Yeah. Now I believe also in eating, the rainbow of meats. I'm not a lion diet carnivore. That's just ruminant meat. Obviously, ruminant meat is my staple, but I do eat a lot of pork. I eat some chicken, and I eat some seafood. And I think it's good to eat a well-rounded. You're gonna get a more balanced nutritional profile by eating a variety. And I have organ meats a couple times a year. Actually, I'm not big on them, but I do make a point of having them once in a while, and then you get everything you possibly need. So this is actually, it's actually pretty remarkable. So because it runs counter to what you learned. So like all my life until I started the carnivore diet and actually did the research and dug into it and educated myself. How much nutrition did you think was in meat?
Never heard that there was any in it.
Right. No.
You get all your vegetables from your fruits you get all your vitamins from your fruits and your vegetables.
Yeah. The fruits and the vegetables had vitamins and the meat was just meat.
That was a total complete lie the whole time.
Yeah. And it's mind boggling to me, that we were sold that lie for so long. So definitely, there's a reason why meat heals. There's a reason why all of us on the carnivore diet, become evangelists, as it were. So eat your meat. All right. So that's the topic. That's the superfood: meat, ruminant meat, and then on occasion some organ meats as well. So what are your favorite meats? Let us know in the chat. What's your favorite meat to eat? If you like organ meats, what's your favorite organ meat? I'd like to know. We're going to go back to the chat here in just a moment.
My favorite organ meat is heart. My favorite meat to eat is bison, with elk coming in a close second. And then, man, it's a toss-up. I almost put lamb ahead of beef, almost, but it's a toss-up. They're about equal in my book. And then right behind them, goat.
I don't think I've ever had goat. Maybe.
Goat is delicious.
And I might have had it at a restaurant, a unique restaurant at one time or another, but
yeah, goat is delicious. In fact, when I first started eating it, I just couldn't understand why more people don't eat goat, why it's not more commercially available. And the only thing I can figure is because it's a smaller animal, so there's not as much yield, when you butcher them. I just put one in the freezer last week, and I've got an appointment to take another goat to the processor on the 16th. So I'll be putting another one in the freezer.
DS111 says, I'm relieved that all the stuff I always thought was bad for me is good.
Yeah.
Bacon, eggs, meat, and salt. Yeah.
How do you think we felt when that's exactly how we were relieved. It was a hallelujah moment, when we started learning this. And I'm like, especially for me, because I've been a carnivore all my life. I just didn't know it. I was forced to eat vegetables. I thought I had to eat vegetables, but I hated vegetables. Couldn't stand them. The only thing I liked was everything I put on them to hide the taste of the vegetable, And so, yeah, when I found out I could actually eat what I truly loved and thrive on it, yeah, that was a hallelujah moment for me. You bet.
I was thinking of a Bible verse that talks about how people would call the bad good and the good bad. You always make parallels between Bible verses and the carnivore diet, and that just came to my mind.
In the end days, they will call good bad and bad good.
Yeah. So, and then SEG, going back to his cholesterol, he says his HDL is 86 and your triglycerides 72. That's beautiful.
You're talking 0.8 something. Yeah, that's fantastic. Mine's better than mine. Mine's 0.9.
It's triglycerides divided by HDL, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that puts him at a 0.8.
Yeah.
Like I said, mine are 0.9. So he or she's got me beat.
Yeah, that's right. Because you could have an HDL of 75 and triglycerides of 150, and you're at that 2-to-1 ratio. That's about the highest you want. So yeah, that would be the math. So yeah, Papa Carnivore says SEG. Wow, I'm jealous. Those are amazing numbers.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I would not be worrying right now. I'd say take a deep breath and relax. Continue on your carnivore journey. Trust the process. And put your mind at ease. So there's, like I said, there's that CIMT if you want, but even then, it's like I could get those things, and I plan to, because I'm a stats nerd. I've talked about this openly before, but even if I get results that I'm not exactly thrilled with, am I really going to change what I'm doing? No, because I can't think of anything better than what I'm already doing.
No.
So,
KCCO. Keep calm and
yep.
carnivore on.
Yeah. And maybe if anything, I would tighten up a little bit, tighten up the reins a little bit, and because as I said, I do dip my toes into keto or paleo here and there. I'm carnivore most of the time. So maybe if I saw something I'd be concerned, I might even actually go even more strict carnivore. I might even go more strict lion diet. So,
I went off plan yesterday. I had 2 stuffed mushrooms.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they were delicious.
I'm sure they were. So we had
And they were stuffed with all carnivore stuff. There was no breadcrumbs or nothing in them.
Yeah. No, like we got this new griddle. You might have saw me talk about before. We got it at Sam's Club. It's a grill and it's got the flat top griddle on it. My wife bought it and we cooked some steaks and some shrimp on that. And she had some mushrooms and onions on it. So I had a little bit of that with my steak. That was like 3 weeks ago. And then I said Saturday, after the son proposed to his girlfriend, we went out to Olive Garden afterwards. And so I had a dish that included some broccoli. So, which doesn't bother my conscience one bit because that's my broccoli for April. I probably won't have any more until at least May or after. So,
have you seen Carrie's video on going to Olive Garden?
I have not actually.
He managed to eat a complete carnivore meal at Olive Garden of all places.
Yeah, I had
that's a challenge.
Yeah, that is a challenge. So I had it's a chicken. I don't remember what it's called. It's basically chicken. It's got melted cheese on it, and it's a broccoli on the side. I can't remember the name for it. And then I ordered a side of 2 sausages. So that was my meal. And
ain't bad.
Yeah, no, like I said, I said I'm very open about it. I'm very open about it because one of these days I'm going to be eating at a restaurant, putting a piece of broccoli in my mouth, and someone's going to be like, "Oh, I know who you are on YouTube. I caught you eating a vegetable."
Hey, even our carnivore ancestors that ate mainly meat still gathered stuff on the side. They had their onions, they had their acorns usually when they had less meat, but they still ate their stuff on the side.
Yes, indeed. All righty, let's go back to our comments here. A little small talk here. I haven't been able to catch up and star any comments, so I'm actually reading them in real time. You guys have had a great show tonight, but I have to head over to my addiction, Grandma's Crochet Corner. Good night, all. That's fine. Tell Grandma we said hello. All right. So for those of us over 50, LDL level is inversely proportional to all-cause mortality.
And this is true. The studies show that out.
Yep. Yeah, actually, was it the people who live longer, I think, had LDLs around 250.
Yep.
So, Yep. All right. But she said that lipoprotein little a was at 94 was a huge factor. I shouldn't have tested that part, and I think mentally would have been pretty okay with the elevated LDL. Again, I think it's too soon. It's too soon. You just started the carnivore diet. That LDL little a could be leftovers from your previous lifestyle. It could be still just what's dissolving out of your adipose tissue when you lose weight. Just too soon to tell, Give that some time. I know we want to see more of the large fluffy and less of the little ones. And so I wouldn't worry about it. Remember, a one-time spot reading doesn't tell you much. It's keeping a log every 3 months, every 6 months, and seeing how things change. You're looking for things to improve over time. So don't let one blood draw at one particular time scare you, especially in the process of losing weight, and making a change. I appreciate everyone's input. The encouragement helps me get my head back on track. Oh, you're
Good.
welcome.
That's
Yeah.
what we're here for.
Alrighty. You can sweat out some microplastics like a sauna, sprinting, working out. Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, Paul Saladino had a deal on that here not too long ago, and he talked about that where uh, he was talking about different things that are gimmicks or good things, in the health community. And one of them he mentioned was having a sauna is really good if you use it consistently all the time.
All right. Rockin' Coach Amy popped in and said hello. We're back at that. We're behind. So this was at 9:06. It's 9:40 now.
Yeah, you
so.
way behind.
Yeah. All right. I used to watch Carnivore Quest a long time ago, and they were always shoving LMNT at the camera. Nope, not today. Yeah, there's I don't think I've ever seen. Well, no, I'll take that back. I was gonna say a Lily Kane video that doesn't have LMNT in it, but no, sometimes she's pushing colostrum, so some sort
There's a lot of them push LMNT or Salter or something. I mean, it's no big deal. That's why we got fast forward.
Yeah, and now on my TV, I hit fast forward and it'll go zip. It'll stop. It says most people skip to this point. It'll skip to that point for you, which is usually right after they're done with their sales speech. So Amy says I have to take electrolytes every single day. If I do not, I still get cramps, and I am 8 years in, but I suspect I have the MTHFR gene. Yeah, so again, bell curve. Just everybody's different. So.
Yep. See, I can't take them every day because of the potassium.
Right. And same here. My potassium's way too high. Still is, actually. New cholesterol guidelines just out. I saw this the other week, by the way, by the American Cardiology and American Heart Association, suggest aggressive and lifetime personalized prevention from age 30, aiming for LDL, lower LDL cholesterol targets. Yeah, they did. They did aggressive, lowering the number again. So,
and my question would be, who paid them to say that? Because we already know they're funded. They're funded by the big food industry. I'm sure the pharmaceutical industry got their hooks in them too.
I haven't seen it. It's an old news, like several years old, but there was even articles for a time about there was people suggesting that they start putting statins in the water supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that got nixed, but still, yeah. They want to give them to kids.
The LMNT promoter seems to have shifted to the Norwegian super salts.
Probably I think that's Salter, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. Has anyone tried using magnesium spray? Oh, I haven't.
Nope.
Cranky Carnivore also has to take electrolytes daily or I get cramps all over. Yeah. And again, mine might be because of my kidney condition. I don't excrete potassium or magnesium very well. I tend to hoard it, whereas my numbers run high. That's why I can't take any. But my salt always runs low. So that's the one that I continuously take. As long as I'm salting, I'm good.
Yeah, if I'm working outside in the Texas heat, all day, I'm going to have to take some electrolytes. There ain't no two ways about it. And I have noticed since I've been training 3 days a week, I'm having to take some electrolytes at least once a week, especially on leg day, because I get pretty intense with it. And yeah, I'll go to cramping up. My gosh, the other day I was riding to Stephenville, and man, I got a cramp in my arm and my side right here while I was riding my motorcycle, and it was all I could do to keep that thing going upright. I almost had to pull over into the ditch and lay down or something. It was cramping up so bad. And that was the day after a pretty heavy duty shoulder workout.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the rattlesnake topic, Rick would eat one and is probably immune to the venom.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, you can eat
The
rattlesnake.
venom ain't in the meat, boys.
Yeah.
And technically, from what I understand, you can eat the venom as long as you don't have any cavities or ulcers in your stomach. No perforations, you're good because it's a protein.
Yeah,
Now, interesting little side bit. Anytime I'm messing with snakes, venomous snakes, and thank you for calling them venomous and not poisonous. But anytime I'm messing with them, I have to let people around me know that I'm allergic to anti-venom. So if I get hit, I got to tough it out. And if I pass out and they give me anti-venom, the anti-venom will kill me when the venom itself won't. So,
oh, that's
yeah, I'm allergic to it.
interesting. That's like kind of rolling the dice there.
Yeah, but here's the deal. I mean, I've hunted all kinds of dangerous game. I hunt hogs with nothing but a knife and a gun, or a knife and a dog. I've hunted bear with nothing but a bow, stick, and a string. I wade through pits of rattlesnake. I know the animal I'm dealing with, and when it comes to snakes, I know exactly what I'm dealing with. And so, yeah, I'm careful with them. I know what I'm doing. I don't get stupid with them. I respect them very much.
Charger Mopar is in the house. He says, how much omega-6 in parking lot chicken? Who cares? That's my answer.
I would say I've actually got what I think is an answer to that. And I think it's lower than you would get in farm raised chicken, because they ain't out there eating what farm raised chicken is eating, which is usually grains and soybean. They're out there eating bugs. They're eating their natural habitat, so they're going to be a healthier animal to eat, no doubt about it. And I'd say for those that are worried about, if you're worried about omega-6 being high in pork or chicken, go eat some sardines. Or go take a good omega-3 supplement. Counterbalance that omega-6.
Morton salt uses calcium silicate as an anti-caking agent. The dextrose is to stabilize the iodine, preventing it from oxidizing and evaporating.
Did not know that.
Yeah, that's some. Did not know that either. Some good trivia to know. Yeah, because that begs the question: why are they putting dextrose in your salt? What's the point? I mean, I heard it was an anti-caking agent, but
and that just answered
that's not the case.
Well, that answered a question I didn't even know I had. Why is it only table salt has dextrose in it? Well, now I know, because table salt's the only one that has iodine in it.
Right.
So the two go together. That makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. Let's see here. Rick says, I have not taken any supplements in decades. On a carnivore diet, you don't have to. So,
Nope.
Hello, dog.
Not unless there's something in your body that doesn't process or absorb the meat the way it should. In other words, there may be something about you where you're not getting some of the vitamins or minerals that the meat has.
What's up, Willow?
And the only way you're going to know that if you get tested.
Thought my dog was coming to say hi. Just wanted to bust the door open. All right. Beer is disgusting the first time you try it, but the second or third one starts tasting good. Not a recommendation. No, it is an acquired taste. So, I remember when I was young, I hated it. And then I acquired a taste for it. My son, whenever he tries it, he's like, this is disgusting. What's wrong with you people? I don't drink it anymore, obviously. So
I don't ever remember ever having to adjust to it. I've been drinking beer since I was ein Kinder, since I was a child. My dad used to let me take sips of his all the time, so I never remember having to get adjusted to it. And I did love beer, and I drank a lot of it in my day, especially when I was in the military and when I was single.
Now, I stopped drinking for the most part when I started my carnivore diet 3 years ago.
Same.
But now I can't do it because of my kidneys. So
Well, now I won't do it simply because of all the alcohols, and I don't drink anymore. But of all the alcohols, that's the worst one for your if you're a carnivore, for your diet.
if I drink, because we go out for like open mic and karaoke from time to time, but I'm at this point now where if I drink even the slightest, like I had a sip of my wife's margarita like a month and a half ago, and then my hands were cramping up. Went to bed, woke up several times with leg cramps. Like if I have even a sip of alcohol, I fight with cramps the rest of the evening while awake, and they wake me up. So yeah, it's bad. It's bad for me.
Yeah, and see, I haven't been a heavy drinker in a long time. I can't even remember last time I even felt what I drank, really, for the most part. And uh, when I became a carnivore, I swore off of the beer and wine. I hadn't drank wine for a while, and I drank some wine, and it upset my stomach. So I just stuck with whiskey and bourbon, and I just lost my taste for it. It was about a year ago. Uh, Went to my brother-in-law's funeral, had a little bit of whiskey, took a sip of it, set it down, and didn't touch it again. I just lost my taste for it. I don't want it anymore. And the only thing I can attribute that to is my body had gotten so clean that anything I put in it that wasn't clean, it rejected it. Just didn't want it anymore. I just lost my taste for it.
Brisket Boomer says oxtail soup is my superfood.
Oh,
I've
I
never
don't
had
blame you.
oxtail.
Oh, oxtail is the bomb. You talk about fatty, tender, and delicious. Oxtail is fantastic. That's one of my favorite things I get from my cows when I butcher one, is I get that oxtail, and I'll cook it in the slow cooker with a roast. Man, it's good stuff.
Cranky Carnivore Cutler. I used to think meat was just protein. Yep.
That's what we were told. Yeah.
Stay away from salmon. I stay away from even wild salmon because they put dye in their food coloring or garbage to give it a bright pink. So I've heard certain salmons they color it or they color the food, right? Don't they eat a food that changes the color of their flesh?
Yeah, that's on the farm raised.
Mm-hmm.
Now the wild caught, I've never heard of them doing anything to the meat on wild caught. Because wild caught, I've been to the canneries and I've seen what they do to the fish processing places. I know in Alaska, and they're running straight through the machines and getting filleted and going straight into the freezer. They get flash frozen immediately.
There's Willow.
So I don't know if they get any of that. If they get any coloring put in them or not. I don't think they do.
Hey, Willow.
But I could be wrong. I don't know it all.
Letting her lick my plate. Yeah, I'd still like salmon. I eat salmon, but I tell you what I like better is steelhead trout. We get that at Sam's Club. It looks just as big as a salmon, and I think it's tastier. And it's also a fatty fish, just like salmon. Good fat.
I like salmon if it's smoked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of cooked salmon. I just like salmon smoked. Trout, I like it smoked. I like everything smoked, but I'm not a big eater. And the trout I eat is what I catch. I like for seafood, I like my oysters, my shrimp, lobster, crab, and I love wild caught tuna, and I like catching my own tuna. In fact, my wife is telling me to I need to go to the coast and go tuna fishing. And in June, I'm going to Alabama and I'm going fishing out in the Gulf in Alabama come June. Me and my son-in-law. So not sure what we'll catch there, but and snapper. Oh my gosh, red snapper is fantastic. So is mahi. I'll take those over salmon any day.
Mahi and some other fishes that I like are really good, but a lot of these fishes are like zero fat. They're all protein.
Yeah,
they're still tasty. So I just bring up the fatty fish because you get the good omega-3s there in the fatty fish. Bill Cook says he actually hasn't had beer in 27 months. That's awesome.
good for you.
Yes, very nice.
Yeah, my favorite carb. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Charger Mopar says Muscovy duck is my favorite.
I want to try Muscovy so bad. We just don't get much of them around here. I know where there's one at, and it would be illegal as all get out for me to take him. He's at a park down in Weatherford. I'd go down there and go trout fishing. I'd see him down there. Ugly ducks, but yeah.
Goat stew is awesome. He doesn't care for it when it's grilled, though.
I smoke mine. That's my favorite. Well, I smoke everything.
Yeah, Cranky Carnivore likes goat. Duck is a close second. And then Charger Mopar says Muscovy duck beats all other meals.
Now, I'm not a big fan of wild duck. I hunt wild duck and I eat what I kill. I'm not a big fan of it because it tends to be, you don't want to cook it all the way through. You want to cook it rare. But wild duck tends to have a liver taste to it. So I'm not a really big fan of it. But domestic duck is absolutely delicious. It tastes totally different than wild duck. Now, Muscovy I ain't never had, so I don't know about it. But I've got right out there in my tank right now, I've got what I've been told is about the best eating wild duck that there is. And that is a couple of black belly whistlers out there on my tank right now. And I can't touch them because it ain't duck season. I mean, technically, I go out there. Nobody would ever know that I shot one or two, but I do tend to obey the law. I give unto Caesar what is Caesar's.
Yeah, no, that's good. Good man. Charger Mopar says he prefers a home fattened duck to wild caught.
There you go.
Yep.
Now, see, that's something I'd like to do is catch a wild one and feed it out like that, and then see how it changes the flavor of it. And with wild duck, there's a difference between which ducks. Now, you got certain ducks that are fish eaters, and then you got other ducks that are grain eaters. And the fish eaters get their meat gets kind of nasty. It's not as pleasant as the ones that eat they hit the grain fields.
Oh, interesting.
And geese is like that. Geese, they hit the grain fields. So they're a much better meat, wild geese.
SEG likes ribeye and pulled pork shoulder.
Don't blame you.
Yeah.
When it comes to pork, my favorite on the pork is the hams and the ribs. I can hurt myself on a rack of ribs.
Lambs is bringing up Rocky Mountain oysters.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I've never had those either.
Oh,
they certainly don't sound appealing.
Well, for most people, they're not. But like when we would round up cattle, and I worked some ranches in the past in my younger days, and I was one of the guys that did the castrating. And so we had an ice chest right over by the calf table, and we would have that filled with ice water. And so when I'd castrate, I just toss the testes in that bucket, and then when we were through cutting and doctoring cattle, then sorting, then the ladies would take it up to the house and they'd prepare them, and we'd have them during lunch. There'd always be some big beef for lunch, like a roast or some kind of stew or carne asada or something. And then on the side, there'd always be the calf fries. Of course, back then we ate them with white gravy, cream gravy, heavily peppered cream gravy. But I could make a carnivore gravy to dip them in and bread them in panko pork rinds, deep fry them, good stuff.
Cranky Carnivore Cutler says the local Olive Garden in Tucson has seed oils and everything. Yeah, I probably has seed oils and everything.
Imagine they all do.
Gardens, you know. Although, I mean, why would you have seed oils in pasta? That's just boiling water, right? You would think. So, yeah, maybe certain sauces and stuff for sure. So, unlike my chicken, they you know, they grill it. They probably, well, it's like Texas Roadhouse. Like if you go to Texas Roadhouse and order a steak, they put a big ladle of seed oil on the griddle, and then they throw your steak on that before they move it over to the flame. And you can request that they don't do that. So a lot of other restaurants do, but I don't care when I go to restaurants. I just don't ask. So like I said, the amount of seed oil, I've cut out seed oils in my life so much that if I get a little bit once in a while, and when I go out to eat, I'm not even worried about it. So, and then Jamette, LOL, Bob caught you eating a vegetable. So, and yeah, so if I go out to eat, you know, like I said, my first year, I used to be that strict carnivore guy that was like, listen, I can't have plants, and yeah, I need you to make these substitutions for me and treat me like I'm special. And now, like I said, now that I've reached my goals that I started carnivore for, I've achieved my goals. So now if I go out to eat, and again, we're talking about twice a month, maybe at best, you know, that I'll usually probably be cheating with keto. So usually that ends up at like, I could be up at a Longhorn. That means I'm eating either asparagus or Brussels sprouts. If I go to Applebee's or Olive Garden, it means I'm probably having broccoli as my side. That's usually what it's tantamount to. So, and then every once in a while I might eat a piece of fruit, especially if the family brought it home and it's starting to go bad. So,
well, you got fruit trees, ain't you?
And I got fruit trees in my backyard. Yes. So when my cherries are producing my cherry trees are producing cherries, we're picking them. And when my apple trees are producing apples, I'm picking from one of them, because one of them tastes good, one of them's tasteless, and the other one tastes terrible. So any product promoted by a YouTuber is overpriced.
More than likely.
Yep. If they pay for advertising and you order the product, you are paying for the advertising. That's really what's going on. Greetings, folks. The term at magnesium oil really is not an oil, and the recipe ratio is 1 cup magnesium chloride flakes into 1 cup distilled water. I'm on break at work, but if you boil the water and mix in the magnesium into a glass container, that is what's used on leg cramps. Did you get rid of them instantly at night? So that's interesting. So a topical magnesium solution to get rid of leg cramps. That's what that sounds like, right? All right. Started drinking beer as a baby on my German grandpa's lap. I would say that's enough. I can remember being like 3 years old watching the Cleveland Browns with my dad and grabbing his bottle and sipping on it. Let's see here. Oh, Willow. Someone says hi to you. There she is. Hello, Willow. She's chilling. Probably means that the wife went to bed and now she's bored and came up here to hang out with me. I will keep eating salmon. I personally think there are enough benefits to doing so. I agree. Yeah. Enjoy your salmon. I'm too impatient to raise an animal to eat. I don't have the property to raise an animal to eat. Maybe some chickens. I could probably pull off some chickens here. Fruit.
Oh, that's the only way to do it. I love it.
All right. I call every sauce seed oil sauce. Yeah, basically. All this stuff used to be made from, cream and tallow and butter fats and stuff, and it's all seed oils now, mayonnaises, dressings. You actually have to go out of your way to make your own, or you can buy it from like Primal Kitchen. They have some good products that are seed oil free, but then they're overpriced too. So
Well, I'll
because
tell
they're
you
not,
what, Maria Emmert, and I don't follow her, but I do get a recipe from her for, as she says, the greatest steak sauce ever. And it's brown butter, cream cheese, uh, bone broth, and a little bit of truffle salt. I'm going to tell you what, it's dynamite. It makes a great, great gravy.
Sandy Blythe is calling it a night. Good night, Sandy.
Good night, Sandy.
Thanks for being with us, hanging in here this long. We're at 10:05, so we are drawing close to our closing time here. Charger Mopar, actually my last comment right now, says eating fruit from your own yard is always fair game, even if you're a carnivore. Yep, I agree with that. So
at least there you know what you're getting.
Right. And I talk about, my food philosophy. I believe in a carnivore-centric diet, as I like to call it. So I definitely think that carnivore is the heart of it all. And then, if you want to, and depending on you, because some people can't do this, they can't have spices, they can't have vegetables, and they can't have fruit. It makes them sick, or brings back their autoimmune conditions that they've tried to squander or put into recession. But most people can. And so I think a carnivore-centric diet, if you want that to be more the ketovore carnivore, you want that to be an animal-based carnivore, I think that's perfectly fine. It's up to you. I see, carnivore for me has always been an elimination diet, and then you can gradually try and reintroduce things. Now, my food philosophy is that the things that you introduce should be God made or produced by Mother Nature, whichever way you want to look at it. So it needs to basically come from the earth, come from the sea, come from the sky, and it should not come from man. So it should not come from a factory. And I just don't believe in grains. I don't believe that grains are edible. Most grains are not fit for human consumption. I can't think of too many grains you can actually just go right out and eat. So
not today, especially because what we have today is all man-made.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and I know some will say that about like everything. Broccoli is a man-made vegetable. That's true. Mm-hmm. It's basically you took the same plant. I think it's a mustard plant. Has been bred so into different lines, different lineages. So some of that plant kind of I'm going to quote unquote evolved to become broccoli. Others became cauliflower. Others became Brussels sprouts. I think they're all the same plant. They historically they all come from the same plant.
But they've bred them and modified them to be disease resistant, drought tolerant, and all this kind of stuff. And then you add to the fact that they're constantly grown in the same soils over and over. The soils are depleted. They have to add fertilizer to the soils, and a lot of times those are just chemicals, and so they're just not natural anymore. You can't get what our forefathers used to eat, because people say, well, our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, they ate fruits and vegetables all the time. Yeah, they did, and they were totally different than what you get now. Totally different. They might actually have some nutrition you get. I would love to be able to eat a piece of bread that Jesus ate. The grains that they had back then, darn well they were totally different from the grains we have today. I would eat a slice of bread. I would like to see what it tastes like, because it might be pretty good. compared to what we have today. But the thing is, here's a good way to judge the grains today. Every single item that's made with grains today, every processed food, what does it always say on the label? Fortified with. If it is so stinking healthy for you and so nutritious for you, why does it have to be fortified with anything?
Yeah, well, because modern grain, they actually, when they harvest it, they strip all the good stuff out of it. They make other stuff with it, and then they leave this nutritionalist shell of what's left over, and that becomes your bakery products, bread or whatever. So it's completely devoid of any nutrition till they fortify it, enrich it, or add it back in.
Right.
So yeah, so now that's a good point. Here's another thing about bread in ancient times is it was a luxury. So back then they grew the grain, and they had to work pretty hard at it. You had to harvest it. You had to dry it out. You had to mill it between two stones to grind it into a powder, and you didn't separate all. You didn't take out the vitamins and the minerals. Then it was still included. You bake the bread, and you got the nutritional benefits from it. Then, but and the difference is it wasn't 99 cents a loaf. You weren't running down the street and buying a loaf of white bread every day and blasting through it like people do today. And they weren't making all these cookies, cakes, pies, and everything. Did they make cookies, cakes, pies, and bread back then? Yes. But nobody ate nearly the quantity that they do today. And what they did eat was more nutritionally rich than what they eat today. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah. Now, with that said, I've heard that too. The apples today aren't like the apples of centuries ago. The bananas today aren't like the centuries, watermelon. And yeah, we've seen the photographic evidence and all that. However, I still consider that natural, and even though it's been manipulated, over the centuries through breeding practices and whatnot to get it to what it looks like today, that's still, less bad than a slice of white bread. That's still less bad than pasta. That's still less bad than a Twinkie,
Agreed.
So I have no qualms, of being carnivore 97% of the time and occasionally eating an apple.
And and you bring up a good point.
The ones from my backyard are this big, not this big.
Right. But once again, it boils down to the quantity,
Right.
as well as the quality. And you mentioned that because even our ancestors, they didn't eat fruit every stinking day. They didn't keep that glycemic index elevated up to here every single day.
Right. It was seasonal.
It was seasonal. So it wasn't something that was eaten all the time. Today, people want fruit every day. They want grains every day. They want all this stuff that we didn't normally eat on a regular basis.
I was watching a new season of Alone on Hulu, and if you haven't seen Alone, I'll tell you, it's a reality program. They take 10 contestants, drop them off in the middle of nowhere, and whoever lasts the longest before calling the emergency phone line and tapping out, wins a prize at the end. And they can go on. Sometimes it goes on for 30 days. Sometimes it goes on for 3 months. They're living out in the wild. Nothing will prove to you more than you have to eat meat to survive than watching this TV show. Because the ones who catch fish or the ones who shoot a moose or a pig or something like that, they last, they win because they're satisfied. The ones who can't do that, they're eating leaves. They're trying to pick berries. They're digging up roots and boiling root water and making root soup. Or the last one I watched was like Alone Africa. They were actually like eating cactus. They were taking the pin needles off of cactus and eating cactus. And there's no nutrition in that. There's no calories in that. So they just shrink down into nothing, and they end up having to tap out because they get getting sick and too skinny. But the ones that eat meat, they're the ones that live. So
Well, and I've mentioned before, there was many years ago, I was a young man. I went on a it was kind of a survival training course, but what it was sponsored by this university down in South Texas. And what it was is because at the time I was studying American cultural science, and in that we were studying Indians or Native Americans, however you want to call it. And we went out into the Texas bush, and they taught us how the Indians lived, and it was basically an everyday survival. What we would call, alone survival training, something like that. That was just their daily living. That's how they lived their day every day. And we were searched. We had to empty our pockets. The only thing we could have on us was identification, so that they could identify the body. Other than that, no fishing line, no string, no rope, no tools of any kind, nothing. We went out with absolutely nothing. And so we had to make our own flint tools. We went back to the caveman. We made our own flint tools, our own flint weapons, our own fish hooks and fishing line, our own rope, axes, spears, even boomerangs. And yes, Native Americans used boomerangs, not the way the Australian Aborigines did, but it was a type of boomerang. And we lived like they lived. And for the first 3 days, we weren't hungry until we started learning and figuring things out. And of course, they're teaching and guiding us along the way. But we ate plant matter for the first 3 days. And then I was on a hunting expedition. We'd started developing hunting tools and weapons. And our first meal of meat was a rattlesnake. And we come across a rattlesnake, and fortunately, it was a big one. And we killed it. We took it back to camp. And it's one of those deals. You're in a community, you share with everybody. So none of us ate good. We just ate a little bit, but we all got some protein. And as we started catching on, the one thing we wanted was meat. That was what the whole thing was about. It wasn't about, gathering acorns or gathering wild onions or whatever, or prickly pear. And we ate our share of cactus. But that was just to get us far enough along that we would have the energy to go get meat. And so I've had the experience of living like our ancestors lived, exactly like they lived. And the priority, we didn't know why, but the priority was always to get meat. That was number one on the list.
All right. Jamet says, Bob and Jeff, thank you. Always interesting. And then Sue Gletley says, with you 100%. That's when we were talking about if you're gonna cheat, eat natural. Don't eat some man-made junk. She also makes a comment, and this is actually worth talking about. Animals are eating from the same soil we are too. And that's a good point. So like that, we talked about beef being a superfood. So yes, the animals you eat are superfoods as long as the animals are getting their adequate nutrition too. So, so if your egg that's supposed to have this amount of RDA of this, that, and this mineral or vitamin, that's only the case if they are certain of those things are only true if they're getting it in their diet. Of course, their bodies might manufacture certain of those things and they're just fine, but other things you have to get from your diet. Just like us, we have to get our B12 from our diet. So that's a very good point. So
yeah, and like you take my animals. Okay, all my animals live on pasture. In the wintertime, I have to supplement with hay, but that's still a grass. And that grass has probably been fertilized. I don't know. It usually is. Hay is usually fertilized. But my grass is fertilized with the manure from the animals that I raise. So we're constantly regenerating.
All right. Very good. Okay. Well, I've got to use the restroom, and that's our last comment. So I think I'm going to draw this to a close.
Right.
All right. We're about 10 minutes early. So we usually schedule to 10:30. So that's okay. All right. Well, hey, thank you everybody who lasted this long. And if you've been watching us since 8 o'clock, that's amazing. We absolutely love you too. Cranky Carnivore says Godspeed. Yes, you too. Have a good night. Thank you, Jeff, for joining me on screen.
Yes, sir.
Paul, if you're watching, we'd love to have you back. Thank you, everyone in the chat who kept the conversation lively and participated through text. We appreciate having you here every week as well. Have a good night. We'll see you next Monday here on the YouTubes. And between now and then, you can pop over on carnivore-talk.com and catch us there. We love you all. Have a good night.
Good night, y'all.